You have just downloaded the BBQ Central Show, which airs live every Tuesday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The BBQ Central Show is brought to you by the BBQ Guru, creators of automatic pit temperature control technology. They can be found at thebbqguru.com or call them 800-288-GURU. And by the Chops Power Injector System, the 2015 Barbecue Tool of the Year at the NBBQA. Find them at barbecuekansascity.com. And by Butcher Barbecue. From injections to rubs to sauces, always trust your butcher at butcherbbq.com. And by Big Poppa Smokers, your one-stop online shop for everything and anything that has to do with barbecue. Their website is bigpoppasmokers.com. And by Cookshack pellet and electric grills. Visit them at pelletcooker.com or cookshack.com or call them 800-423-0698. And by Cookin Pellets, you can buy Cookin Pellets at cookinpellets.com. You can also visit amazon.com to purchase as well. And by Green Mountain Grills, some of the best pellet grills on the market today. You can visit them at greenmountaingrills.com.
This is Rennie Knopf with ChampionshipBBQ.tv, and you're listening to the BBQ Central Show.
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
All right, good evening, and welcome to the really big BBQ Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important in the world of barbecue and grilling. We broadcast live and direct from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. It is the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening. If you want to jump in on the show tonight, more than happy to have you. A phone call is all it takes, 216-220-0966. Alternatively, you could also email the show, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Anything else you want to find out about the show can be jostled around at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. Greg, no swag tonight. What are you talking about? No swag. Bro, I'm as swag as it comes. Right? Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to keep it professional today, man. Matt, I have to be a pro sometimes. Tonight is that one time of the year where I'm proing it. Yeah. You like my stripes? Stripes make me look thin. As I had mentioned, anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. Archives, ways to sign up for the newsletter, all of this stuff. Referencing the newsletter, in case you didn't get it, at about 16:06 today, here's what's happening on the show. While I can't tell you with 100% honesty that the show was chock full of guests, what I can tell you is the show is chocked full of two of potentially the best guests that I have had in recent memory, taking the first hour. This is the other thing these guests are doing. One has 1 hour, one has the second hour. How about that? Rarely happens on this show where two guests carry the boat, and me. In the first hour, starting at 9:14 this evening, and, going all the, and then going all the way through that first hour. As you hearken back and you think of some of the most tremendously competitive and successful and respected and well-liked pit masters over the course of the last handful of years, this guy certainly ranks among the tops as you start to take that survey of, in secret, who do you really like? Who do you want to see? Who do you want to compete against? Plus, do an incredible amount of winning and have won really big-time championships, to include the 2014 Sam's Club National Championship overall. So he had to do pretty well to get there, and then he won it. And he also, in the same year, won the Team of the Year for Georgia in 2014. Hence, same year, not to be redundant. Make sure I got this phone number all set. All right, that's the one I want. However, the story that we will be talking about tonight is one of competition, one of survival, one of resilience, and probably by and large, as he looks back, thankfulness, gratefulness on many fronts. And, of course, a big portion of that has to do with the barbecue community as a whole, and then specifically on the competition side of things. If you don't know what I'm talking about now, you will certainly get all of the background, the ins and outs. I've been told that there is no question that is off base or that won't be answered, although I'm sure I could think of something because I'm that kind of a douche nozzle. At 9:14, he will be here to lay down an interview that has all the makings of an instant classic, and for all the right reasons. Pitmaster of Killer Bees Barbecue, Jim Burg, will join me in the first hour. That's going to be great. Then we'll move to the second hour, and we will finish or cap off what is now marked the month of individual Team of the Year category winners of 2015, breaking down how they do their specific meat that they won. So all the way back 3 weeks ago, we had Sterling Ball on, and he talked about his pork process. The week after that, we had Tim Shear, Shake and Bake, in ribs, and the tallest man in barbecue, by the way. Last week, Brad Leiniger from Getting Basted dropped mad science on that ass when it came to chicken, and was mere points away from pulling off a brisket Team of the Year event as well for that category win. And then tonight, we cap it all off with that exact category, the brisket category, winning that one, a team that finished third overall last year in the points race. Aside from the pork, in top 10 in all the other categories, we'll talk to him about pork. And has started out this year cooking their face off yet again. At least 2 grand championships, at least 1 reserve that I can count. Doing a little show prep here before we got on the air live. So having another, probably by their standards, another ho-hum, this is how we do it here. But winning twice already. And the most impressive thing, and I say time and time again, through winning through various sanctioning bodies. We will close out the Pitmaster tutorial month-long sessions with none other than the Pitmaster of Iowa's Smokey D's, Darren Warth, will join me. We'll hit brisket. It'll be great. So I want to shout out Heath Riles for 2 things. One, not so great. I don't know if you follow him on Facebook or not, but Heath did lose his dad at the very end of last week, and from what I understood, he was sick. So it's always a surprise, even when you're expecting it. I'm sure it's always a surprise. So thoughts to his family and everybody that's enduring that loss of Heath's dad. However, before that, I had reached out to Heath in regards to doing a spotlight segment on the upcoming barbecue roundup show on that butter bath wrap situation. Has anybody heard about this, the butter bath wrap? Chad Ward used it in the contest in a Popka that he won. Unless I'm mistaken, but I believe I heard him say he used the butter bath wrap. And it had my mind racing. So I reached out to him and I said, and I wasn't asking for anything. I just said, hey, I would love to do a segment with you on this, where your mind and how you came up with it and all this other, because it's supposed to replace putting all of the brown sugar and the butter and the apple juice and all this other stuff. You have it in the bag and you pour it, you add liquid to it, and then you wrap it up, and there you go. Making it easy, as you will. So he sent me some of that. However, he sent me all of this stuff as well. What? Heath. 1 tangy sauce, 1 sweet sauce, 1 mild sauce, 1 original barbecue sauce, 1 based and marinade pint, 2 butter bath wraps, 1 pork injection, 1 gold dust shaker, 1 sweet rub shaker, an all-purpose barbecue rub, a cherry bomb shaker, a nutty pecan shaker, a sassy apple shaker, a peach shaker, and a partridge in a pear tree. Holy moly. Heath Riles doing it right. I mean, gave me everything on the list. So here's what I'm saying. If you're interested in checking it out, email Heath at victorylanesbbq.com, or you can visit their website, victorylanebbq.com. Get him on Facebook and Twitter. Looks like they also cater as well. His phone number is 662-224-5097. Again, Heath at victorylanebbq.com, or visit the website, victorylanebbq.com. I have another story to get to, but that will have to wait until the top of the second hour, assuming I even have time for it then. We have Jim Burg coming up out of the break, so everybody's going to want to stick around for that. Everybody's going to want to be ready. Tell all your friends and neighbors that Jim is getting ready to come on, and we're going to talk. We're going to get deep with Jim. First, let me talk to you about Cookshack, manufacturers, smoker ovens for barbecue lovers with any amount of experience. Whether you barbecue in the backyard, in the competition circuit, or in a 5-star dining facility, Cookshack has the unit that will do the job for you. And with a full line of barbecue sauces, spices, pellets, and wood chunks, it's the perfect one-stop shop. Cookshack strives to be your barbecue resource center by offering cooking classes, online recipes, how-to videos, 2 blogs, Smoking, Grilling 101s, and a video cooking classroom. Check out their website, Cookshack.com, or follow them on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, the Twitter, Pinterest, and Google+. Get advice or share your passion for barbecue on their world-class barbecue forum. Cookshack pellet-fired smokers are the choice of champions because they were designed by a champion, Ed Fast Eddie Morin. The FEC 100, the PG 1000 are always customer favorites. The PG 1000 can double as a smoker and a low and slow or hot and fast pellet grill. It gives you the most for your money. QPR, that's what we always talk about on the show. Cookshack residential electric smokers are the #1 smoker in the industry. High quality means high durability and versatility. Anything you can cook in your oven, you can make in a Cookshack, and that's the bottom line. Passion and dedication drives Cookshack's manufacturing, with quality always being the top priority. It's always at the forefront. Call Stuart Powell. See what he thinks. Have a discussion with Stuart. You know he's going to bring it to you straight. Get the best in barbecue since 1962 and call 800-423-0698. That's 800-423-0698. Or again, visit their website, Cookshack.com. That is Cookshack.com. All right, we're going to wrangle up Jim Burg. We're going to talk about the end of 2014, the beginning of 2015. We'll see where we end up after that. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central show right here on the Barbecue Central Radio Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Radio Network studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Radio Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. 216-220-0966. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. This portion of the Barbecue Central Show being brought to you by Green Mountain Grills, manufacturers of some of the best pellet cookers on the market today. If you're looking for a big cooker to house a lot of food, they got one for you. How about something medium-sized? They got you covered there, too. How about something to take on the tailgates? No problem. They got it all for you. You can also get wood pellets there to fire those cookers, too. Check them out at greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com. I love my Green Mountain Grill. You could love yours, too, if you just check out the website. All right, my guest in the first hour is a very successful competition cook. He was a 2014 Sam's Club National Barbecue Champ, as I had mentioned in the open. Also won the 2014 Georgia Barbecue Team of the Year. Things were rolling right along, and that's where we pick up the story tonight. To say that I am honored that he is coming on the show would be an understatement. To say that I am happy to even be interviewing him at all, well, that's something I am very grateful for. So let's go ahead and race to the hotline and welcome back friend of the show, the pitmaster of Killer Bees Barbecue, Jim Burg, joining me here on the show. Jim, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well.
So, stumbling right out of the blocks as I am ought to do here on this show, Jim. Of course, you know about that. So,
I know all about that.
Yeah. So let's.
I just want to appreciate you laying it on a little thick in the intro. That's really good.
Yeah. No, I mean it's thick, but it's true. So and I guess let's roll it back a little bit for the folks that maybe tune in for the first time tonight, or maybe they're not really focused or laser focused on the competition scene at this point, but might be thinking about getting into it. I think you have a unique story, before all of this happened. So if you could, just give us that little bit of background about how you got into the competition scene. What was the impetus, or who kind of convinced you to get in this thing and give it a shot?
Well, we had originally done a couple local contests around here. It's mainly for Cooking for Kids, which was a local charity, and we had to do wild game and barbecue. And we had small game, big game fishing, and barbecue. And we stumbled into that through Ducks Unlimited. And by our second year, we were winning about every category, and barbecue was one of them. Well, after about the third year of doing that, I entered barbecue twice, which they said I could do. And my wife was saying there's no way they're going to give you, 2 out of the top 3, even if you make it. It's just, they're not going to do it. Well, I took first and second in barbecue that year. And, pissed a lot of people off. But, I just wanted to see how they scored it and everything, and just see if they were honest, and they were. We went and did one contest that year, which was Boss Hog, and we got a call in brisket. And what was funny was I'd never even seen a brisket, cooked a brisket, much less eaten a brisket. And we ended up 10th, and we were up against Iron Mix and Barbecue, Wiki Q, all these great Georgia teams. And so I felt like we won the daggum contest. But the following year was a turning point. We were doing a local contest around here and had some heavy hitters down there. Tuffy and Johnny and all them were down there. And had this guy next to me. I didn't really know who he was. Like I said, I was just getting into barbecue. And he'd offered, to help us out a little bit. I had some guys there that helped us set up because we were vending also. And we helped them get set up, what we could, what they wanted to help with. And we just formed a good little friendship there. Well, unbeknownst to me, he'd give me some pointers and some tips, and in just about every category. He didn't have to, but he did. And he's kind of like promoting barbecue. And being all said and done, he ended up reserving the contest. And everybody around the country knows who this man is, and he really influenced me. Not only did I take his class the following year or whatever, but he instilled in me that, it's all about promoting barbecue. If you love barbecue, then promote it in the best way possible. And, if you can help another team or point them in the right direction or, feed them a couple little tidbits here and there to kind of get them going, you're going to have a friend for life. Well, everybody knows him as Rod Grace until it ended. And he really turned us around. And I promised him that if he had a class on this side of Mississippi, I would take it. Well, that next year he had one in Hammond, Louisiana. And so I went down there and took it. It was a 9-hour drive for me, took his class, only for him to come back the next year and have 1 mile from my house. So,
of course,
it was a trade-off, but he really got me going and started in the right direction. And we always instilled the thing about promote barbecue and helping a new team or a young team or a backyard team or whatever they're struggling. Just give them some pointers and some feedback, and that's the way we've been living our barbecue life.
Jim Burg joining me here on the show, pitmaster of Killer Bees barbecue team. All right, Jim, so let's go ahead and, fast forward a little bit. As I had mentioned in the open, the end of 2014 was absolutely spectacular. You win the Sam's Club National Barbecue Tour overall championship, which means you had to do pretty good in the local qualifier to get into the regional, and then you had to do pretty good to get the regional into the national, and then you win the national. So that was great. And on top of that, you win Georgia Barbecue Team of the Year as well. So here's the question. You roll into 2015. And you have the event, I guess. And I guess leading up to it, Jim, did you have kind of like this general not feeling well kind of a situation? A lot of people, they don't feel well for a while, and then they're like, well, okay, I guess I'll just go to the doctor, and maybe nothing's wrong, or maybe something's wrong, and they're like, I shouldn't have let it go so long, this, that, and the other thing. Or did you have like an acute onset of sickness or something that just kind of hit you out of left field?
I'll tell you what, when this thing hit, it hit like a locomotive, and I'm not exaggerating one bit. I was literally talking to one of my students. We were up in Lexington, North Carolina, and it was, around 12:30, 1 o'clock or whatever, on Friday. I just gotten through prepping my meat and everything. And, I told anybody who took my class or whatever that if they had some more questions at a contest and I had time, I'd come over and answer them, and tell them what I thought. And so we just went going over a couple things, and my stomach just started not feeling well. And I felt like I was going to have an upset stomach or something. So I said, I'm going to mosey back onto my trailer, and just, lay down for a few minutes. And I get to my trailer, and my stomach's starting to hurt a little bit more. And my wife was walking her dog, and she comes by and puts him in the trailer, and she looks at me, and she goes, "You all right?" I said, "Not really." And by that time, my stomach just turned. I had to get up, run to the back, and throw up in the trash can, came back. And in that short period of time, Greg, I went from having full color and everything to being white as a sheet, sweating. And I laid back down, and she looked at me, she said, "Do I need to go get somebody?" And when I told her yes, she knew it was something serious. She was thinking like everybody else was, that something was going on with my heart.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you think you were having a heart attack, or were you just, you seem like, prior,
it was kind of weird, because it felt like what they say a heart attack does. It kind of hurts your arm and your side or whatever, but it was on the wrong side. It was on my right side. My chest was tightening up. My stomach was just, it was literally starting to get on fire.
Just as a man, like, you're kind of a strapping guy. Were you scared to the point where it was so unfamiliar that you thought there's something really wrong here?
It was, because, I've been healthy my whole life. I work outside every day. I own a landscape company. I'm always walking, lifting, doing something. And I was healthy as a horse. 6 months earlier, I did a physical and everything was normal. I was carrying about 30 extra pounds, but they said everything else, you're as healthy as a horse. And, of course, I was probably about the size of one, too. But they said everything came back normal, which really shocked some of the doctors. They expected, high blood sugar or something was out of whack just being my size. But with me working so much, and I'd never felt, I played 11 years of football back in the day, and I mean, I had never felt pain like this before in my life. And I really thought something serious was going on, and didn't know if it was my heart or what it could be. I mean, I was just dumbfounded. But the pain was so intense. When my wife went out of the trailer and got somebody, luckily there was 2 EMTs right on the other side of our trailer sitting in the truck. Had the deer. She went over and got them. Of course, they immediately thought it was a heart attack. They come running in there, hooked me up to the EKG machines, all sort of stuff. In the meantime, an ambulance had pulled up. And by that time, some teams like, picking porkers and kill them in the grill and smoke this and all of our buddies up there, Tommy Houston from Checkered Pig and all, and started coming over to our site. And they're trying to find out what's going on. Jan didn't have any idea. These guys didn't have any idea. It wasn't showing up as a heart attack or even heart failure. And they were dumbfounded. So from the time I got in the trailer to the time I was in the ambulance was about 12 minutes. They weren't taking any chances. They threw me on the stretcher, got me in the ambulance, and off to High Point, North Carolina we went. And it was sometime later that night that they figured out what it was. It was acute pancreatitis, which we never heard of before. Didn't even know what the daggone pancreas did. My father died from pancreatic cancer. But, they can do everything in the world to the heart, but they can do zero to your pancreas. They've got nothing for it. It's its own organ. You have to have it, but there's nothing you can't transplant it. You can't, rebuild it. You can't do anything to it. I mean, it's going to do what it's going to do. It literally felt like I had a softball-sized fireball in my stomach. I was on fire big time. Nothing they gave me, no drugs or anything, would even begin to touch the pain. I was willing to sign off on the Delilah they were giving me. They said, was that lethal doses? And to give me more to stop my heart, I said, where do I sign? Because I'd rather my heart stop than me keep putting up with this pain. I mean, it was that bad.
Jim, I think
it really was.
I think saying that really, well, I guess, first of all, is pancreatitis, when it hits people, other sufferers feel the same as you do? Does it have varying levels, and you just happen to have like the worst of the worst, or what? Because honestly, I'm not real familiar with it myself. My grandmother died of pancreatic cancer, but not pancreatitis, and I don't know anybody that's ever had it.
Right, and it's a totally different animal. The number one thing I kept telling my wife was, it's not cancer, it's not cancer, not cancer. Because most people that die, have cancer of the pancreas are dead within a year. I mean, my father's living proof, my brother-in-law was living proof. But there are different levels of pancreatitis, and the most common way you get pancreatitis is drinking too much hard liquor. They call it a drinker's disease and an alcoholic's disease. And they'll get it, but they'll get it where they have to stay in the hospital for 3 or 4 days or a couple weeks. Their worst cases may be, 3 to 4 weeks in the hospital. And, and then they're relieved of the pain. And, they're told to watch, quit drinking, all this sort of stuff and everything. And, of course, most of them don't.
Right.
But it's really an alcoholic's disease. Well, the first thing any doctor ever asked my wife, it didn't matter which doctor, is he a heavy drinker? No, I am not. You can ask anybody at this contest, Thursday night, Friday night, or Saturday night, I might have 2 or 3 beers at the most. Nobody's ever seen me drunk. My wife, we've been together 20 years. She's seen me drunk twice, and now within the last 10 years. So, with it being more of a drinker's disease, that wasn't my case. Their thing was what caused this to erupt so bad, so quick. And most prognosis is you can have a cyst on there that ruptured, or you have a gallstone to get lodged in there and makes your enzymes in your pancreas go haywire. Now, what the pancreas does is it's got enzymes in it. It's like a banana-shaped organ. It's got enzymes in it that breaks your food down before it goes into your stomach. Well, when these enzymes, so-called, get angry, or something invades them, they go ape crazy. And what happened was my enzymes in my pancreas was eating my pancreas. And so you get all this stuff just turning your once pristine organ into the consistency of jelly and just making muck out of it and creating fluid. We found out that your pancreas secretes about 1 liter of fluid a day into your body, and your body absorbs it. And we found this out through all the doctors and everything. So your body's made to absorb it. Well, mine was making a lot more fluid than that, and it was not a very good appealing fluid for your body where it could absorb it because it's absorbing toxins. And so their first protocol for me was to start filling me full of fluids. Well, I went in weighing 255 pounds. By Saturday night, I weighed 280 pounds. Oh. I was ballooned up. I told you more graphic of what all was swollen on me. My eyes were bulging out of my head. I literally looked like a Michelin Man, and I gained 25 pounds of just fluid. The worst thing that I could ever think, and I still get a little emotional on this, was that Saturday night, 30 hours after I got this, my kidneys shut down and my liver was shutting down. And the doctor told my wife around 1 o'clock Saturday morning to call my family, and I wasn't going to make it.
Jim, during that time, Jim, are you coherent? Are you completely aware of what's going on, or are you ballooned up and pain meted up to where you're a little bit of a haze and you're not really lucid enough to realize the gravity of the situation?
I think the latter part. I was in and out of consciousness for two reasons. One, because of the drugs they were giving me and the amount they were giving me. And two was before they started giving me the drugs, the pain was so excruciating I would pass out. And, me being outside and doing all this stuff, I have a very high tolerance to pain. And when this hit, it was so bad, it literally made me pass out. It was that bad. I did not know about the doctors saying that till about 2 days later. But I do remember, my family's 4.5 hours away from there, and I do remember about 6 o'clock in the morning seeing my whole family up there. And didn't know why, or I didn't really know where I was at that point. And, I knew I was in the hospital. I thought I'd seen them at that hospital before. They'd come see me before. I was that kind of drugged up where I wasn't really coherent. I knew who they were. I knew they were there, but, I didn't really grasp the reality of why they were there. And of course, I didn't really know the gravity of my situation. Just putting my wife through it was just, and the afterthought was just hell enough. And not to mention, all of our friends up there in the barbecue community had come by to see us and check on us. And, Jan's out there posting, trying to keep everybody, abreast of the situation. And the doctors couldn't do anything more for me. They had to wait for the, pain to go away. So I was in ICU for 7 days, and I was in a step-down room for 7 days. And then 7 days later, I called my brother up to come pick me up and bring me back to Augusta. There wasn't anything they could do for me up there at that point. They'd done all they could do. And I just felt like, even though I wasn't that well to travel, I needed to get back here to Augusta. And it was probably one of the worst rides I ever had in my life. But I made it back here. And I was in the step-down hospital here for 14 to 15 weeks. And in that period of time, they had drain tubes run into me. I was on intravenous food, laying on my back. Couldn't move. I had all sorts of stuff, between pumps and, things coming out of me and everything. I couldn't move unless I had two nurses. And it was really, when you're a proud man and you're used to doing everything yourself and nobody could tell you no, you proved everybody wrong, to being as helpless as a kitten, it really wears on you mentally and physically. And so I was there for 14 weeks, and they finally decided to operate on me. And that's when the other turn for the worse happens, when they opened me up. The doctors had told my wife, Jan, that, it's going to be about a 2.5 hour operation. And I'd be in ICU for a day with, ventilator tube and everything coming out of me. He said, don't be alarmed. He's going to have all sorts of hoses and all sorts of stuff coming out of him. They put 3 more drains in me during the surgery. They put a feeding tube in me also. And so I had like 4 tubes coming out of me. Looked like half of an octopus, I guess. But, and all these machines and everything. But when they got in there, he came out 5 hours later. And the whole family's sitting there. And the fluid that normally drains and your body absorbs, my fluid would turn to the consistency of caulking.
Oh, my. And
they had to literally take my innards out and scrape my abdomen to get all of that stuff out, because it was just congealed in there. They took 80% of my pancreas out, and they took my gallbladder, and then they had to reroute my stomach and all that fun stuff in that area, intestines and everything. They had to reroute all that. And so I was a mess, and I was in ICU for 5 days with the ventilator. And those days, I can vaguely remember 1 or 2 times waking up and thinking I was in a different hospital or whatever, because I'm still asking Jan. I said, well, I remember this one nurse. He said blah, 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 and drew a little diagram. She goes, yeah, that was at MCG. I said, okay, that was here. She goes, yeah. I said, it just seemed like it's in a different world, And the pain came back. I was on Dilaudid again, and a normal 14 to 21 day stay. I was in it for 52 days.
Wow.
So, and the biggest thing with all this is the, it really kills you emotionally and mentally, because all these things that we take for granted, just rolling out of bed, took me a week to do that on my own. Learning how to walk again. It took me 3 weeks in a walker to learn how to walk with a walker before I could even start walking on my own again. I mean, it's all these things that we've taken for granted that we do every day that just made life so tough on me and my wife. It's probably as hard, maybe harder on her end, because she saw her big burly man who could do anything, would do anything, and did everything, to can't even get up out of bed.
That was going to be my other follow-up question there, Jim. I mean, obviously, the person enduring, you having the issue with you, but of course, you have your wife and your biggest supporter, your biggest fan, the love of your life is sitting there, basically helpless, hoping that the doctors know what they're doing, hoping they're going to be able to figure out what's wrong with you and get you onto some type of road to recovery. And she's lucid for all of it. There are no drugs to knock her out, or, she's not going to pay. She's seeing you like this day in and day out and week after week and month after month. Has she come to terms with, how the road has progressed for you, or like how has she been able to deal with all this? I mean, that had to have been a tremendous burden.
It really was. I mean, it wore on both of us. Because, mine was more pain and trying to rehab, and hers was watching me just dwindle away to nothing. I mean, I'd lost 85 pounds. Actually, if you take it from when I was at my heaviest and I was ballooned up at 280 pounds, I'd lost 110 pounds.
Wow.
I'm down to 170 pounds, and I hadn't been that since I was in 6th or 7th grade. And it's not like when people are on a diet, I think I might have mentioned this earlier, it's not like you lose weight all over, It's the first thing that goes is all your muscle. So basically, I still have a stomach, but my legs and my arms and everything are literally skin and bones. I mean, literally. And that's how it just ate away my muscle and everything. So, I'm on a path to recovery on that, eating proteins. But on her side of it, it was just so tough that she had to, watch this going on. Like you said, there was no painkiller or whatever that she could take that would lessen what she had to do. She was actually doing some of the nursing jobs. If the nurse was busy or whatever and I'd hit something, she'd end up doing it for me or helping the nurse. And she learned a lot. I mean, she could damn near be a nurse right now with all that she learned, what I had to go through, changing my bandages and everything. When it cut me open, it cut me from one side to the other of me. I had like 42 staples in me. And so I had a bandage all the way across my stomach. I had tubes coming out of me. I had, feeding tube, and they had to make sure that I had food up there in my feed thing. It was really a mass. It would have been easier if I had a heart attack. I'll put it that way. It would have been a hell of a lot easier if I had a heart attack. Rehab wouldn't have been as long, and the progression wouldn't take so long. I wouldn't have been on my back for 6 straight months. I was laying on my back. So, but her having to go through this, it when I could really comprehend all that, Greg, it really started getting to me mentally because I could kind of feel her side. You know what I mean? I was feeling my pain, and then I was feeling hers also.
Jim.
And, it's something that I don't wish on my worst enemy. I do, we thank God every day that I'm still here. We may not have prayed every day before, but we do now. It's just, we pray for other people. It's just been, a thing where we have to thank God for pulling us through, and all the prayers that people sent really meant a lot to us. And to see the barbecue community come together the way it has for us has been phenomenal, and we'll touch base on that in a little bit. But right now, as far as my prognosis, the doctor told my wife in the beginning that it'd take a year for me to get back to normal. Well, tomorrow marks 10 months that I've been going through this, and I'm at about 30% of where I was at this time last year.
30%.
30%. I can walk, I can talk, I'm out with my guys doing some estimates and stuff. What I'm doing now, I couldn't do 4 weeks ago, so I know I'm getting stronger. My appetite's starting to come back. I'm trying to eat as much as I can, whenever I can. They say you need to eat like an athlete, and, when your stomach's the size of your fist, starting off a couple months ago, you can't eat that much, and they're like, well, you got to eat this. I don't want to eat that. I mean, my taste bud's still on all the way back. I mean, I used to love pizza. I can't eat pizza right now. It just doesn't appeal to me. A lot of foods that I really loved before I don't eat because it just doesn't appeal to me right now. Eating ice chips for 5 straight months was the only thing I could put in my mouth was ice chips. And, it's hard for people to understand what you go through until you actually go through something like that. And every doctor that we've talked to has said this is by far the worst case of pancreatitis they've ever seen, and the person is allowed to tell about it. What usually happens when you get pancreatitis is your heart rate goes up, other organs start failing, like my kidneys did. And, if I died from that, they'd say it was a kidney failure. They wouldn't put pancreatitis in there, even though that caused it. Most people who die from this die of either a heart attack or a stroke because it makes your heart race. My heart raced up to 140, 150 several times. And my normal weight when I was in the hospital was like 115, which is, 20 more than the normal person. But that was the way I was in the hospital, and they accepted that. But for a normal person, they'd be all jittery and shaking and everything else. But to me, I was calm as a cucumber because I was used to it. So that's why pancreatitis does not get so-called fame for deaths, is because it causes other things to malfunction.
Yeah, the pancreatitis is like the root cause of the other things that actually end up taking you down, no doubt about it. We're talking with Jim Burg from Killer Bees Barbecue. He is the pitmaster for Killer Bees. Jim, let me ask you, so we've talked a little bit about, your 30% of, where you think that you should be, and the doctor tell you, 100% after a year. What are your expectations, Jim? And I guess how you internally talk with yourself about your expectations, and then I guess how they compare to real life expectations as you've seen where you've come from and where you are present day.
It was very humbling to me because my whole life, when I played football to whatever, I always had to fight and scratch my way up to the top. I was never a really gifted athlete. Everything I had to fight for and I earned, and I wanted it to be that way. Nothing was given to me. And so when this came around, my wife would tell you the same thing. Doctor said, "Oh, it's going to take him a year." And me and Jen could say the same thing. "No, you don't know me. I'll be back in 8-9 months. I'm going to beat that curve. I'll beat every other one. I'm going to beat that curve." That's not going to happen. It's probably around, I think it was the first week in December. I was doing pretty good, and I had my pancreas started giving me fits again. And I'm like, here we go. And I had to go back to the emergency room, and they had to admit me back in the hospital for a week and get my pain meds right. And it was going towards where I was feeling that really bad pain again. And I told Jen, I said, this could be it. I said, I don't know. I don't have a pancreas left to really do that much hurt, but I said, it's killing me right now. And so that was the point where I said, well, I'm not going to set my expectation, my goals high on getting back. I just want to be able to get back. So I didn't really push myself really hard. I tried to do it to where I was doing things for 1 or 2 days, and then I'd overdo it, and it set me back 2 days. And where I couldn't even get out of bed, I couldn't do nothing. And what people don't realize, even to this day, is that I walk around 24/7 with a stomach ache. I've grown, like I said, I have a high tolerance for pain. I've grown to accept that I'm always going to have some type of dull pain down there. And I'm just going to have to deal with it mentally and physically and get through that. But, if it gets much worse, then it's time for me to lay down and take it easy for a few hours. And they got me on some good pain meds that's not addictive, but they last a good long time. And, I can get through a day by just taking one of these little pills in the morning, and it gets me through the whole day. I know on some days if I don't take it around lunchtime, my stomach starts to bother me a little bit. So I know they do actually work. And, that's what's getting me through right now. Me being out with my guys walking more and everything, that's most of my job curtails. So I'm building back up strength. Like I said, I'm doing things now that I couldn't dream of doing 4 weeks ago. And I'm making sure I'm getting my walking in and everything. So I really need to get my legs back up under me, and I think everything else will follow. Just going through the normal days that I have. So that's my therapy. When I had a therapist come by, I was always doing more than what they said I need to be doing. So I just said, well, I'm just going to do it on my own because you're not giving me enough to do. And they didn't really want what I went through. They didn't really want to push me. They didn't want me to overdo it or anything. But, I felt like I could do more. I know my body. I know what I've been through. I know what I can do, what I used to be able to do. And I said, I want to get back to that as quick as possible. So, getting out, doing my daily things every day, and having a support team here. I've got a couple great guys that work for me, and they've been really good. They've kept my company going, and my family has been 150% behind me. They've really stepped up and come by and check on me and help me do things, and we go and do some things together. But they were there by my side in the hospital. One brother, every day he had off, he'd be at the hospital bed. Every single day he had off. And that just kind of shocked me. And you don't realize how close you are to some of your own family until something like this happens, much less an extended family. But it changed the way they live, and brought our family closer together. I hate to say it took something like this to do that, but you get caught in your everyday lives doing other things, and some things just don't become as important as they used to until something like this happens, and you take a step back and you realize what really is important in life. And we just found out the hard way. And, like I said, we just thank God every day that I'm still here, and, I'm progressing better. Jan feels a whole lot better now that she sees some good progress. It's taken a lot off her shoulders. I couldn't have asked, or could have, I think, ever found or picked somebody that would have stuck by my side like she has. And if she wasn't there, I wouldn't be here. I mean, that's the bottom line. I owe my life to my wife, and to a lot of you guys out there that behind us. And, we appreciate everything everybody's done for us. We don't take any of it for granted. And, it just makes you take a step back and look at life. It really does. We've had several people saying what we've gone through has really changed our lives. And if that's what the good Lord did this to me for, I'm all for it, And He's got a path, and He's got a wish for us to do something. So hopefully we're going to do it.
Jim, you sound resolved and ready to take it on no matter what's going to be thrown your way. But, in quiet times, do you think, you've said it twice in the interview. In April, you were like, hey, let me sign the paper that gives me, pain medicines that's really going to put my life in jeopardy. And then, back again in September when it was starting to spike up again, you were like, man, this is going to be it. Not many people are able to realistically question their mortality twice in a year, let alone, in 5 months of each other. Did you ever think, why me? Or did you ever get depressed or anything like that?
It was so bad when I got back down here to Augusta, after my stint up in North Carolina and having my first, thought of really dying, being coherent enough to understand what was going on, and just ready to give up, get rid of this pain, so to speak. I had disconnected myself. A lot of people probably know who follow me on Facebook. Around June, after a few weeks getting back here, I had disconnected myself from the world. And what I mean by that was I closed my blinds. I never wanted my blinds open. I never had any lights on. I'd just sit there and watch TV all day. I got off Facebook. I didn't post anything on Facebook for probably 3 or 4 months. I wouldn't take phone calls. I wouldn't congratulate, people that's taking my class for winning grands and winning categories, and Jim to sit and tell me what all was going on. And I disconnected myself from my company. Jan took it over with the 2 boys that stayed. I had 4 guys leave, thinking I was going to shut it down. But with my 2 main guys who had been with me from day one, they stayed on and kept it going. By the grace of God, there again. they told me they were not going to leave until I, drug them off the property and told them not to come back. But they were going to be there every day regardless, and promote my company and keep it going. But I disconnected myself from all of it. I didn't want to hear anything about it. I just mentally, Greg, I was just gone. Literally just checked out, didn't care. The only thing I thought about was living and dying in those two fashions. Big thing is, well, if they have to do this, then what's my life going to be like? Or if this happens again, what's my life going to be like? Am I going to make it? You have all these unknown questions because the doctors couldn't answer anything going on either. And so it was really tough on me that way. And after so many weeks, we finally got in touch with a doctor at the big hospital here that had done pancreatic surgeries and everything. And it wasn't until we went to go meet him, and he was very positive. He was almost like he was happy-go-lucky in a way. Like I said, we're going to go in there. We're going to open you up. We're going to dig around a little bit. We're going to probably have to take some of your pancreas out. And, if gallbladder caused it, we'll take that out. But, we'll do this and do that. It's very invasive surgery. I'm not going to lie to you. And then he said, we can do it, arthroscopically and go in. And he said, take this and this out, but we won't be able to do this. And he said, if that doesn't work, then we'll have to open you up anyway. I'm like, well, I don't want to go through 2 surgeries, because I knew mine was bad enough, and he told me mine was a bad case. The CAT scans and stuff, they couldn't see anything because all that fluid was so murky. They couldn't really do anything that way. And so they decided, I told them, just open me up. Let's get it over with. If I live, I'll tell about it tomorrow. If not, then, it was meant to be. I was to that point. And, of course, everything went with the surgery and all that other stuff I already gone over. But, I checked out from reality. I'm not going to lie. I checked out from reality, and Jim would get on my Facebook and post, hey, this is Jim. Jim's doing this. So many people wanted to know how my progress was. And, my phone sat there by my bed, but I never picked it up.
Is there a definitive point, Jim? And look, whether anybody's going to admit it or not, that are in similar straits as you were, everybody's thinking that at some point. You're in that, the pain and everything, and the length, and there just doesn't seem to be any type of hope that anything's going to rectify itself. And then if it does, what's the quality of life going to be like? And for a guy that has always been self-sufficient and strong and competitive, to face a reality that you might be, I guess what you would consider to be a shadow of yourself is daunting, and it's depressing and it's sad. So whether anybody's going to admit it like you are tonight or not, that's just the bottom line. Was there a point when you said, you know what, I got to get past this. I got to reconnect and, plug back in to my wife and my life and my friends, whether it be in person or on, social media and things like that?
Well, as I sat in a step-down hospital, all I could think of was the worst. Like you said, what's my quality of life going to be like? Nobody could answer that. How long is this going to take? I'm tired. I'm just wore out. I wanted it in one way or the other, blah, blah, blah. But when I went to go see Dr. Cruz down here at MCG, it's called Augusta University now, he put a little spark in my mojo, so to speak. He was shooting straight from the hip. He said, I'm not promising anything. He said, this is what we're going to do. He didn't realize how bad it was till he went in. He said it was by far his worst case he'd ever seen. But he says, you know what the biggest thing is about that? I said, what? He says, you're still alive. And he said 95% of the patients, if they'd gone through what you went through and I opened them up like what you did, they would be dead right now. And he said, so somebody up there loves you And so from that point on, it really bumped my spirit up. Like, okay, he says I'm over the rough stuff now. Now it's time for me to step up to the plate and get better and, fight this thing and do what I've done my whole life and fight for my life, fight for my spot here. And then, tell people about it, And we started telling people about it. People were telling me about, cousins that have died from this. One of my good friends, his father died from it. Never knew that. All sorts of things just started coming out of the woodwork. Where she went in with pancreatitis and she had 2 strokes and a heart attack and died from that. Things like that were coming out. And I'm like, well, I'm a pretty lucky person. And, even the residents down there at the hospital were calling me the miracle man because they said, it's a miracle you're alive. They said, after looking at your charts and what you've been through and how long you've had this, said it's a miracle you're still alive. I mean, not to say I hadn't had, 2,000 CAT scans and everything else going through this. I was having one about every other day. So I knew it was pretty serious, and they were trying to keep a close watch on me. So it was, sometime after I got out of ICU and got my bearings back right, that I said, it's time to start fighting a little bit more and to get through this. And, it was an easy decision on my part, but, you look over there and you see your wife's face and you see what you put her through. So it's like, I've got to fight for her too. So, it wasn't just for me. So, it was that point from then on that I said, enough. I'm going to try to get the old Jim back and fight every chance I can get and try to get better. And if I don't, then it's God's way of, letting me know. But ever since I did that, everything's been progressing pretty nicely. And, like I said, I'm doing things now I wouldn't dream of doing 4 weeks ago. And so I know I'm getting better. I'm not gaining any weight. Actually, I think I'm still losing some weight, but I feel a lot stronger than I did. And my mind's a little clearer now. I've got my business back. I'm doing it now and getting more jobs and more progressing as far as business is concerned. We've picked up a lot more work, and my guys are happy. I'm happy, keeping them busy, and my wife's business has been doing pretty good, and she's been happy. So everything's starting to really start to blossom right now, and we're just going to kind of keep this train rolling and heading in the right direction. And our first competition we're going to do in 2 weeks. Pacific Swine up in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Some good friends of ours and supporters of ours are putting it on, and it's close to home. It's about 2 hours from the house, so it's not going to be a stretch to go do it. And we've got several friends out there in the barbecue community that's going to help us set up and tear down and all that stuff, so it's not so bad on me and Jan, so I still can't do a whole lot as far as that's concerned. But we're going to get back, and we've got a lot of people to thank, a lot of people have gone above and beyond what we had ever dreamed of. And, it's the thing, you ask them why, and they always come up with the same thing, the same answer is, well, it's the first impression. First time I met you, like David Qualls, first time I met you at Sam's Club. You and your wife came by and said, hey, the last 2 Jack Daniels were at, y'all came by and talked, and y'all were just great. I said, well, that's just the way we are. We like to meet people and talk and visit and, hang out and promote barbecue. And that's what we've been doing. And we haven't changed. I mean, we were going into our 5th year last year, so I guess we're going into our 5th year this year now, since last year was a bust. But, we've accomplished a lot in a short period of time. And, like I said, we just want to help people get into this community, which is a great one. And, like I said, promote barbecue. It's a really great thing to be a part of.
Well, I can only imagine you're going to have, if not the one of the most popular camps in a couple of weeks when you get back out there on the competition circuit, Jim. I really appreciate all of the time you've spent tonight and all of the insight that you have given us here. And, as a host, I certainly appreciate it. And I know everybody listening here live tonight. And then, of course, most of the people get it at their convenience on podcasts, and it's probably going to go down as one of the most downloaded shows ever that I have done tonight. So, I thank you for that. But I'm just happy that you sound great, you sound strong, and I know it's going to continue to trend up, and I really appreciate the time tonight, Jim.
Well, like I said, we could not have done this, Greg, without the barbecue community being behind us. They've been behind us 110%. Prayers. We've got so many people that have donated above and beyond. I mean, David Pauls gave up his RGC and Team of the Year for KCBS and had a check donated to us. Byron Chisholm has been a big supporter. Bubba from Barbecue. We had 4 teams up in North Carolina do a fundraiser for us for a whole weekend with Chuck Piercy, Jerry Stevenson Jr. from Redneck Scientific, Pickin' Porkers, Smoking Scullies, Don Rogers, Green Mountain Grills, who's one of your sponsors, actually donated a couple grills for raffles up there for us. And they put together, Bubba sent pork up there, bought all the pork for the event. Randall Bowman, with the smokers and the chocolate he gets, Scott Smith from Cuban Stewing and Brewing, donated classes and bought me an entry into a contest, which we've gotten several free entries this year. From organizers saying your money's not good this year. We just glad you're back and we want you here. And don't worry about paying. We've got it covered. I got people like Rub Bagby, Matt Barber, Tuffy giving, Travis Clark, Heath Rouse giving free classes, and what they're doing is they're raffling off a class and sending us the money. Victory Lane Barbecue, Butcher Barbecue, Rod Gray, Chris Lilly, Granny's Sauce, have donated products to this cause. I know I'm running off. Mark and Rich from the BBQSuperstore.com have donated not only their own money, but have gotten these Team Burg shirts out. They still got them. It says hashtag Team Burg, and you can buy the T-shirts there. People supporting us that way. Jason Whitcomb from Team Unknown built us a chimney. He just felt like that he wanted to donate something, and he donated us a chimney and got Bubba to bring it up to Brasstown Valley this year. Karen Murphy and Jason Perrigan from the Jack. We got an honorary invitee to the Jack this past year. Myron Nixon has donated stuff. Eddie Smith from GD Piggy, he's come up and saw me in the hospital a couple of times. I'd never even done his contest, but he knew who I was, and I'd met him a couple of times. He just felt like, since he was from North Carolina, and he just felt like he needed to be there by my side. I mean, Tommy Houston from Checkered Pig. All these people have just done unbelievable things for us, and we cannot thank them enough for going above and beyond everything. Is taken them by the heart. And I mean, it's really heartfelt, and it's really restored faith in humanity. Even Carolyn Wells from KCBS, we've had several talks on the phone and everything, and I don't think she realized what kind of family she was developing back 30 years ago when she started KCBS, but it is one hell of a family, and it's a tight family. It's a very giving family, and I could not think of any other organization that I would rather be a part of than this. KCBS, FBA, whatever. This barbecue community is just unbelievable. And, we just really, really want to thank everybody from the bottom of our hearts for everything you've done for us. All the prayers, just everything has been just so overwhelming, and we really appreciate everything everybody's done for us. We're not done yet, but we are digging out of that hole, and we just want to thank Butcher Barbecue. Like I said, David Bosco's been really good. There's just so many, and if we miss somebody, I'm sorry, but I try to get a list down of everybody I knew, and but we just want to thank everybody, and I want to thank you for having me on the show tonight, and I just can't thank people enough, Greg. It's really been overwhelming.
Jim, I think if you miss anybody, it doesn't even matter. They can listen to the authenticity in your voice, and look, this is what it's all about, and it's my pleasure to have you on, Jim. Good luck in a couple weeks when you hit that barbecue scene, and if you win, we're getting you back on to recap. All right, man?
I'd love it. I would really love it, and I appreciate it, Greg. And you have a good evening. And tell Darren I said, hey. He's a good friend of ours.
I sure will.
And I'll be listening to him.
All right. Well,
I appreciate it, Greg.
We'll talk soon. Thanks, buddy.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
How about Jim Burg right there? Wow. Coming strong and really laying it all out there on the line. That was some real, I think if you're listening, that's some real. Okay, I mean, literally, it's life and death stuff. I don't know if a lot of people have had to contend with that, maybe with a family member, extended, or a grandmother or grandfather, something like that. But within yourself, have you had those conversations with yourself? Have you had to have your significant other look at you in a state that you never thought you would be in, and how are you going to get out of it? What's the recovery going to be like? And then it goes on for months and months. Can't thank Jim Burg enough for coming on the show and talking about it the way he did. Continued success in his recovery and continued success on the competition circuit when he gets back to it in a couple weeks from now. All right, let me see here. How can I do this? My clock is way off, but, who cares? I'll catch up to everybody else here in a minute. Jim mentioned it just a second ago. Butcher Barbecue, that's right. Go to butcherbbq.com. Check out the new website. Check out the new $8 shipping, regardless of size. The injections, the rubs. It's all available for sale right now. butcherbbq.com. If you're looking for the go-to rub or sauce, you've hit the mother load here. There's 4 new rubs out there on the market. Of course, everybody knew in the beginning it was honey rub. The steak and brisket rub was great. Now you got even 4 more rubs to choose from. Hurry over and get them all. And then while you're at it, get the grilling oils. They're my favorite. I used grilling oil today, sauteing. Is that how you say it? Sauteing up some chicken tenders. Real chicken cuts, not the breaded stuff. A little bit of olive oil, and then a couple rings around with the Butcher's Barbecue butter flavored grilling oil. I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. Then I dropped some cherry rub on it. Whew! Come on, son. Come on, son. Get over there right now, and please. Here's the thing. If you're like, hey, what should I get? The shill you want me to be is everything. But the truth is everything. You should get everything. Get the injections if you inject. If you've always thought about injecting and you're just a backyard guy, it works for you too. I had the same apprehensions 4 years ago. I got over it. Now my barbecue is better than everybody else's in the neighborhood. The rubs are great. The sauce is great. Come on. Do yourself a favor. Head on over to butcherbbq.com. That's butcherbbq.com. Always trust your butcher. Also, I'm trying to catch up. The Chops Power Injector System. You got 3 different models to choose from. It's the first 2 are under pressure, like in a spray bottle type situation, but it's food safe. It's a half gallon and the full gallon option. And then if you do big catering jobs or like restaurants, the Chops Full Power Injector System Instead of a holding tank, you got 3.5-foot pickup tube. You can put it in up to 55-gallon drums for crying out loud. Plus, they got all the accessories that you need to make your Chops Power Injector bulletproof. For instance, metal needle adapters. They're all made in KansasCityMissouri.com. It's the 2015 Barbecue Tool of the Year is the Chops Power Injector System. Use the Chops Power Injector System with Butcher Barbecue's injection. It's a match made in heaven for crying out loud. Barbecue Kansas City, BARBEQUE, barbecuekansascity.com. That's barbecuekansascity.com. We're back with Darren Warth right after this. Stick around.
Hey, this is Helen Paradise from SoCal, and you are listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to. Hit me.
Fine, how you doing?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono. It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet 4 wieners.
But listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
All right, welcome back. This is the Barbecue Central Show's second hour. I'm just trying to figure out how I am readjusting here, so bear with me just for 1 second. Joining me now, just for a little statistical analysis. In 2015, first in brisket. That's why we're talking to him today. 8th in chicken, 10th in ribs, 29th in pork. Must be a mistake. Good enough for 3rd overall, KCBS Team of the Year. We head to the hotline and welcome back good friend of the show, the pitmaster of Iowa's Smokey D's, Darren Warth, joining me here on the show. Darren, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you, staying up late for a brother.
It is past my bedtime.
Is it? What time you roll into the rack?
Well, 8:30, 9 o'clock at the latest.
Yeah. Well, you're probably, are you like up early guy because of the restaurant stuff, or not so much?
Oh yeah. I'm up by 5 o'clock.
Oh yeah. See, that's like, to me, 5 o'clock in the morning. As much as like the very first second the alarm goes off, I'm like, God, this sucks. But 5 minutes later, I always think between like 5 and 8 are really the most productive hours of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So you're a pretty good brisket cook. We're going to talk about that. And I'm trying to figure out where I want to ask these other questions. Well, let's just get through the brisket stuff real quick. But there's a lot of other really cool barbecue competition stuff that you continue to do very well. 2015 Brisket Team of the Year. How does that grab you?
It's good. I really don't get too excited about Team of the Year races. We had a great run in brisket. Towards the middle of the year, I think we had 5 or 6 first place brisket finishes in a row, which kind of catapulted us up there, and then we just kind of stayed there pretty much all year long. So, I don't get too tied up in Team of the Year races. We're more about going out and having fun. You know that.
We've done this kind of roundtable show with you before, Darren. Not just you singularly, but we'll follow a similar fashion here, and it should kind of breeze by. Back in the beginning, when did you start competing again, Darren?
2003.
All right, 2003. So just a couple of years ago. Were you always using the higher end briskets, or were you prime guy at some point, or like how did you start with that?
No, I think when I first started, I think everybody back then, was pretty much using choice briskets. There came a time, I'm going to guess in the, I don't know, maybe 2008, 2009 area, and I'm not very good with dates, but, everybody kind of moved to the CAB thing. And then, the Wagyu has really only been, it's only been kind of a 3 or 4 year old thing, if I remember right. I mean, we haven't been doing them for a ton of years.
Do you feel that it is something that you need to move? Let me re-ask this question. Do you think that in the judge's tent there is becoming an expectation of tasting a Wagyu brisket or not?
Well, I don't know, because I really don't taste my food. And we've got to the point that, Sherry and I, neither one of us even taste the brisket at all. To me, it's a tenderness game, but I think the one thing the Wagyu does over all the rest of the stuff is it almost guarantees you the juiciness of the brisket, that marbling's there, compared to, and you may have a prime brisket that's got super marbling. Personally, I'm not sure if I could tell the difference between a prime brisket that was well marbled and a Wagyu brisket, on the judging. I'm not sure I could tell you that difference.
But you're not going to take one to a competition at this point.
Well, that's right. I mean, you it's when you find something that works, you just repetitively do it over and over again, no matter how boring it becomes. You keep doing the same thing.
Darren Warth joining me here on the show. So as we get into the prep of brisket for you guys, has it always been whole packers? Have you ever messed around with flats before?
Really, I mean, I've been cooking flats for years. I mean, it's whole packers, of course, but I've always trimmed them out.
Right from Jump Street?
I probably, not right from the beginning. I'm guessing, I don't know time frame, but I've probably started, trimming out flats. I don't know. I've probably been doing it for 5 years now.
Are you just a one brisket during the competition cook, or will you do, 2 or 3?
Oh no, just one. I'm a strong believer that, people say one's always better than the other, but if you only cook one, how could that be?
So does it really, well, I mean, I guess from a financial standpoint, I mean, briskets are now, I don't even know what they are, 180, 130 bucks, 150 bucks or something like that?
Oh, probably 160, 70, 80.
All right, so, let's just shy of 200. I mean, you're probably not going to be, spending 550, 600 bucks on briskets just to say you got 3 there to pick your best slices from. That would be fiscally irresponsible, potentially. Do you know people that do that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I actually do that a little bit myself. I always have 2 briskets thawed when I get ready to go for a competition, and so I'll trim out a brisket, in the restaurant before I leave. I always try and trim my brisket out. And if there's something I don't like about that brisket, I won't think twice about cutting that thing up and putting it through the grinder and making the best hamburger in the world, and going to the next brisket. I mean, sometimes I'll get to the 3rd brisket, but I think that's my mentality, that I don't care if it costs $600. I'm going in to win brisket, so I'm going to have the best piece of meat on my cooker that I can possibly get, no matter what the cost is.
Does cooking one also force you to really dial in and make sure that you are, I don't know if babying is the right term, but you are paying attention to it and not thinking that you have other stuff to potentially back you up?
No, not really. Not really. I mean, I don't even baby a brisket. It's kind of like this weekend I was cooking out in Arizona, and, I just kind of had this feeling, and I said, well, maybe I'll put a probe in it. I told Sherry, I said, normally I like to get everything wrapped, and then at some point I decided that I'm going to get out a probe and so I can monitor it, instead of opening the cooker door. So, I popped a probe in the brisket and it was done. I mean, it was exactly perfect done. Actually, I was cooking 2 briskets because we were cooking 2 different contests, which is going to require me to have 2 briskets, and both of them were done exactly at that time. And I'm not sure if it was just blind luck or what. I mean, normally I wasn't even ready to put a probe in it. And I said, I'm just going to put a probe in it. And it had this sixth sense to me that said, hey, you better check that thing.
In regards to the trimming process, are you a big believer in a lot of removal of stuff, or because of the quality of brisket that you're using, is there really not a need to do a lot of knife work?
Well, I hack up quite a bit. You know, I really trim that brisket down. I don't trim a lot of fat on the bottom of the brisket, but I give it its shape, you know, and I try and, you know, get everything that flat, and I try and trim it down because I try and cook that brisket really fast. You know, so the smaller the brisket I've got, the faster it's going to cook.
In regards to injections, do you use something that's widely available on the market? Well, I mean, look back probably in 2003 when you got into it. Were you even injecting briskets at that point?
Yeah, I think at that point, you know, I mean, it was pretty simplistic, but I think even back then people were injecting briskets, you know, and I ran a brisket injection for, you know, probably 4 years, the last 4 years. And then finally halfway through the year last year, I kind of switched over to a different one to make it more simplistic. And I really didn't notice any change.
Do you mind sharing who you use or who you're partial to?
Well, I mean, I switched over as soon as, you know, of course, everybody knows that, you know, Big Poppa Smokers is really our one and only sponsor. And so he came out with this brisket injection called Cattle Prod that isn't even on the market yet. I mean, I think it'll be on the market on March 1st, from what I heard. But I mean, it's just amazing because it gave me everything that my injection used to have, except for it gave a little more. But what it did was it made it really easy. It made it that you could just mix together a certain portion of that with a bottle of water and you're ready to go.
Darren Warth joining me here on the show, Iowa's Smokey D's pitmaster. And the website, by the way, because he has very successful restaurants, is SmokeyD'sBBQ.com if you want to check it out. How many restaurants you got now, Darren?
Still got three. Still got three. We're just kind of maintaining along. You know, we travel a lot on the circuit and stuff, and we've just decided, you know, that we really don't have to be the biggest barbecue restaurant in the country. You know, we just want to be consistent day in and day out.
How far in advance do you rub your briskets? And I guess process-wise, are you a rubber and then an injector, or the other way around?
I inject every afternoon at 2 o'clock. Ask me why 2 o'clock, don't have a clue. But at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I inject. And then I get up in the morning, I light my fire at 5 o'clock. As soon as I light the fire, then I rub the brisket.
That's it?
That's it. I'm the most simplistic cook in the world, Greg. If anybody watches me sit around, I spend more time sitting in the lawn chair in the morning than I do anything.
Were you ever a guy that was bogged down with, it's got to have rub on it for overnight and dry brining and blah, 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 or is that all just kind of foreign to you?
No, I think I probably did that when we first started, you know. I mean, back when we first started, you know, if Rod Gray told me anything, then I did it. You know, he was a pretty good mentor of mine as we come to the rack. So, I mean, I think at some point if he would have told me to jump off a cliff, I probably would have.
Rub-wise, obviously, it's West Coast offense, as you had mentioned. You're a big Poppa guy. What do you like about those rubs?
You know,
I mean, look, there's 50 billion rubs, Darren. I mean, who are we kidding? I mean,
they just score, you know, and I don't know because I've interchanged them even, you know, I mean, it used to be the Money and Pepper Cow were really popular on the brisket. And then, you know, there's been a lot of switch to, you know, the Double Secret and the Pepper Cow back and forth kind of interchangeably. And now, you know, his new Cash Cow product brings it into the mix, and it's just crazy. But I don't know, you know, and like I said, I don't taste the brisket, but evidently it must taste pretty good.
So what's your West Coast offense on on briskets? Is it just one rub, or do you use a combo of 2 or 3 different ones?
People are paying Travis Clark thousands of dollars for this.
Me?
No, right now we're actually we run Peppered Cow, Double Secret, and the Cash Cow.
Nice. As far as prep, I'm going to guess no, but I mean, is there anything else that you're doing to the meat before you toss it on the heat?
Pretty simplistic. I can trim a brisket in about 5 minutes. In the restaurant, I cryo back up, take to the contest 2:00, inject away, throw it back in the refrigerator, take it out of the refrigerator after I light the fire, put some rub on it, throw it in the cooker.
So if we move easily to the cooking section, what time do you get that thing on in the morning for competitions?
It's normally on at 6.
Do you allot a certain time, or is it all look, feel, and sixth sense for you on when you're going to pull it?
Oh, it's definitely feel. I really don't pay much attention to the time, but I've designed. I kind of took this whole hot and fast to a new level, kind of by accident. A couple of years ago, I was sitting in Sholo, Arizona, and I was trying to get my pit up to temp, and it was about 6,000 feet elevation out there. And I couldn't get my pit to temp, and I was throwing logs, and I was burning paint off this pit. And I just couldn't get it up to temp. And finally, after about 45 minutes, I said, I just got to throw this brisket on. So I threw the brisket on, and it just sizzled. And I'm going, I wonder if I have a bad thermometer. So I put a probe in where the thermometer was, and I was burning at 450 degrees.
Whoa.
And I just had a bad probe. And so I just kind of let that run. And, it tempered down, the pit, but I let it put that hard sear on it. And, to this day, it was the best brisket I'd ever cooked in my life. I just liked it. And so I just kind of went to that timeline, and so by doing that timeline, it allowed me, instead of like the old Jambo cooks that, get up at 2:00 in the morning and light the fire and put their stuff on and go back to bed for a half hour and get back up. It allowed me to sleep all night long, get a really good night's rest. And then I could, when it come turn-in time, I wasn't tired. I was really focused, so it's changed the way that I've cooked. It's changed the way I've trimmed pork butts out, just because I get everything smaller and everything's on the pit at the same time. But it allows me to start the pit at 5:00 in the morning and allows almost everything on that pit to come off there between 11:30 and 12. So I got all morning to do whatever I want. And then there's this real crunch time before chicken time that everything's happening.
In regards to wood, I guess, do you run a Jambo at a mix of charcoal and wood, or is it only sticks that you're throwing in there?
I start with a charcoal base, just to start. But then it's all wood. It's 100% wood from there.
Are you a pecan guy like most are?
I am. I'm a Vaughn wood pecan guy, dried to 10% moisture.
Pretty exact, yeah.
Well, if you've ever spent time around a moisture meter at all,
never,
or what's happening, okay, well, you really should, because if you're running Jambo, you'll find out that if that moisture level gets up above 15%, you get a smoldering log. If you get it down to 12%, it's livable. But if you get that 10% or under, it's really just throwing a log. You're not worrying about it. You're not trying to adjust the fire to get that log to burn right. You just throw it on the fire and it burns.
So do you have a specific source that you're getting your 10% at, or do you meter every freaking log before it goes in, and if it's a little wet, you put it up in a rack and season it a little bit longer, and do you have the rotating rack of wood?
Well, I get it from Vaughn, and they custom cut and they kiln dry everything, so is everything right at 10%? No, not necessarily. I mean, that's the beauty of when I cook in Arizona. It's so dry that everything goes down to 7-8% moisture and just stays there. When you're in Iowa and you're in the spring, that moisture content wants to come up. So in Iowa, a lot of times I'm always throwing a log on the side of the fire trying to get it going. But really what happens is when I'm selecting what wood that I'm taking to the contest, that's usually when I have the moisture meter in my hand.
Obviously, you're cooking hot and fast, as you had mentioned. Do you spray or baste or mop at all during the cook on that brisket?
I do. I have a spray bottle just full of water, and I hit that thing probably every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes? Yep.
What about if you're looking, you're not cooking?
It's a Jambo.
It's always cooking.
A Jambo has a recovery time of about 2 minutes once that door is open.
Foiling the brisket at some point?
Yep, foiling the brisket after 2 hours.
So is it time or color?
Well, really it's both, but I mean, it ends up being, if you're consistent on your wood and consistent on your meat and consistent on the placement in the cooker, it all looks the same every time.
Back when I started doing the show, I think everybody was foiling the briskets and it was tight, but there wasn't a lot of stuff going in there. It was just a foil, I guess. Have you seen a rise in items going in to the foil, like making it a little hot tub type thing? Are you doing any of that?
Well, I mean, I just put some simple, once again, Sterling's got this cash cow product out there that he's taking cash cow and mixing it, straight in with water and being able to make an au that's going in there. So like I said, I'm not sure if that makes a difference or not. I'm sure it does with the end product. And I think a lot of people are doing different things there. I mean, I hear of all kinds of funky things where people are covering a brisket in honey and just doing all kinds of stuff in there. But I'm just pretty simplistic. Just try and get kind of a beefy flavor in there.
Have you separated the point and the flatter cooking separately now, or
yeah.
Okay.
No, they've always they get separated. They get separated at the restaurant. When I'm separating them, they're getting trimmed out separately.
And always burn ends to make, or always attempt to make burn ends, no matter what.
Well, yeah. I mean, and 95% of the time that works out. I mean, sometimes you may get a brisket that has too much marbling, and usually I'm able to identify that at the restaurant and go a different route when I go to trim it, because sometimes they come in way too marbled. Sometimes they're not marbled enough. Most of the time with the Wagyu, it's the burn end's too marbled, and if it's way too marbled, then it's going to be hard to get that. It's just going to be kind of a mouthful of fat, which we don't want. But 95% of the time they go in the box.
Darren, can I break 1 second and talk about Big Poppa Smoker, and then we'll come back and finish up the brisket whatnot?
Sure.
All right. Stand by here. I got to make sure I got all my damn clock stuff. Did you hear Jim Burg earlier?
I did not.
Oh, you got to go back and he ran me for an hour and 10 minutes. The guy was gold. He's awesome. So good.
Jim Burg is gold.
Yep, no doubt about it. All right, hold on 1 second, Darren. We'll get you back up here in just a couple minutes. Let me talk to you guys quickly about Big Poppa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for anyone interested in barbecue. #1 dealer of Mac pellet grills in the world. Big Poppa Smokers features a wide selection of American-made grills, smokers, such as the Old Hickory Ace BP, the gateway drum smoker, even a drum kit that gives you everything you need to make a world-class smoker out of a 55-gallon drum. Big Poppa's has also made a name for itself in recent years by crafting an award-winning line of championship rubs. From flavors like Sweet Money to Happy Ending, their rubs have had a hand in winning almost every major barbecue competition, including the American Royal, the Jack Daniels, Kingsford Challenges, Houston Livestock and Rodeos, Kings of the Smokers, and the list goes on. Don't think that they can be pigeonholed just into competitive barbecue either. BPS rubs have become so well known that they've been picked up by a nationwide restaurant chain. BJ's Restaurant and Brew House, with 4 of the 9 rubs on their permanent menu. And amid glowing reviews, BPS rubs are proven to be a great addition to anyone's pantry. They've also banded together with fellow California-based rub company Simply Marvelous Barbecue to form what has now become known as the West Coast Offense. Defying conventional wisdom, these 2 California-based rub makers have cornered the market on competitive barbecue and begun to redefine the flavor profile that competitive cooks from across the country have begun to aim for. Don't forget about the online meat locker, Snake River Farms shipped right to your door, the Kobe beef, the Caribou pork, Double R ranch meats. It's got something for every type of barbecue aficionado. Big Poppa's also created a unique brand ambassador program, the BPS Elite Team, featuring 15 of the best competition teams in the country working together to promote camaraderie, competition barbecue, and to benefit children's charities across the U.S. Keep in mind that Big Poppa's has been able to do all of this within only 5 years of being in the biz, turning competition barbecue on its head, providing customers with the very best barbecue products, becoming a staple of a nationwide restaurant chain, benefiting children's charities across the U.S. Just the beginning for Big Poppa Smokers and the website bigpoppasmokers.com. That's bigpoppasmokers.com. More with Darren Warth of Iowa's Smokey D's right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Get in the smoke. Call 877-448-0433 to get on the air. Now, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show is brought to you by me. Hey, don't forget, the first episode of the Barbecue Roundup will hit the feed at noon Eastern this Thursday. It's locked and loaded. And for the first effort, it could have been worse on my end, I guess. Shout out to Sylvie Curry for being my first spotlight guest, and thanks to my favorite Sterling Ball, for giving me some audio bites on the guinea pig recap. So subscribe to the show through iTunes or whatever podcatcher you use, and you'll automatically be subscribed to get the potentially new every Thursday at noon release pre-recorded barbecue roundup, whatever. All right, we are back with Darren Warth from Iowa's Smokey D's. Darren, we're just going to finish up the brisket stuff here. In regards to when it's finished, do you shoot for a minimum hold time, or is it all just kind of how the clock is working with you?
It's really just how the clock is working. Like I said, most of the time everything's coming off between 11:30 and 12, so, I found the longer that brisket holds, I think the better it is. But I'm not willing to sacrifice sleep time over holding a brisket any longer.
When did you stop tasting your barbecue?
A long time ago.
Like 5 years ago?
A long time ago. Yeah, a long time ago, except for chicken. Chicken, I love the chicken. I'll eat every piece of chicken. Other than that, I really, I force Sherry to taste the ribs. We haven't tasted a piece of pork, or Sherry will sometimes eat a piece of burnt end before it gets any sauce or anything on it, just for more of a mouth texture. But other than that, I can pretty much feel a piece of meat in my hands and see if it's right.
That I don't know how else to say it. It just kind of blows my mind. And obviously it's because I have never competed, and I would get the balls kicked off of me if I were ever to hit the competition scene. And you've been doing it for, years and years, and you have the program and the experience and all that stuff. But I guess it just seems a little crazy to some people that you wouldn't, put a mouth on. You say you like the chicken, or you would eat every piece of chicken. It's just because you like chicken. It doesn't really matter, that it's, at a competition.
I just do, and, I truly believe the words flavor profile are the most overused words in competition barbecue, and I think if you have people new to the sport and you ask them, they're probably going to say it's 90% flavor profile and 10% tenderness. And I'm here to tell you it's 90% tenderness, 10% flavor profile. It's a tenderness game out there, and what happens is when people bring other barbecue up to me and say, hey, I'll say, yeah, I'll eat your chicken. I'll feel your brisket or your pork, whatever, but I'm not going to taste it. Everybody's always focused on the taste. And I'm here to tell you, it all tastes the same.
So is there a possibility that is ever going to change? I mean, I don't remember back when I started doing this show that there was I don't know if vanilla of a flavor profile or as similar of a flavor profile as there has been over the last couple of years. Do you see a point in time where, it kind of goes back to the kitchen and people are going to start bringing a little bit more personality or individuality to flavor, or is it become too expensive and too specialized now to try and go outside of the box and get spanked?
Well, I'm not sure it's too expensive, but I think that's exactly what's happening. I mean, I think competition barbecue as it is today is just good, mediocre barbecue, and you just have to appease to a wide range of judges. You can't be in there and say, okay, I'm going to throw a little extra heat to this, because if you go in and you get grandmas on the table, they're going to kill you. The same as, if you throw the heat to the bunch of beer drinking buddies that sit at the table together, you're going to do really well. But the fact of the matter is you just need to be what I'll call politically correct all the time. And if you're trying to set yourself something different, chances are you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. And we've just decided a long time ago that we're not going to play that game. I'm not going to play the first or last game. I don't like that game. I'd rather have 4 7th place finishes every week than a shot at winning first once every 5 weeks, but getting also dead last. And so it's just kind of middle of the road.
Is that satisfying to you to say realistically that you make the least offensive mediocre barbecue for brisket in 2015?
It is, and I tell you why, because competition barbecue for us shifted. Probably we've always had a lot of fun competition barbecue, but when we went out a couple of years ago and we won the Royal and then we won the Jack and the Kingsford Invitational and the King of the Smoker, and we had that phenomenal run.
Yeah.
You sit there and you look at the mirror and go, okay, what else is there to accomplish besides losing 100 pounds? But anyway, so you look at the mirror and say, well, what else is there to accomplish? And you say, you know what, this is about friends and this is about fun, and what I'm a strong believer that the less time I spend trying to figure out how to win, the more that I win, just by keeping things very simplistic, but we're having the time of our lives. It's all about that. We don't care. We don't care whether we win or not. As long as somebody that we know wins and one of our friends wins, we're all happy, and that's what our journey's about, and in the meantime, you win every once in a while.
So why not get a 15-foot stagecoach RV and just follow the circuit along and just like hang out and just, fuck the cooking altogether?
Well, I mean, you almost could to that point, except for, people like, I've gotten 50 phone calls this week about being in Houston. Am I going to be in Houston? Going, no, if I can't compete, because there still is that competitive nature, it's the thrill of the call and it's the thrill of, getting that brisket to turn out just right and things like that, there's still that competitive. If that ever goes away, chances are we'll just go away and, I'll become a Bass Pro fisherman or something, who knows? But it's just that thrill is still there. But to us, if you look at our schedule of where we go, a lot of times it doesn't make financial sense, but I guarantee there's either a really great restaurant or really great friends that are there to have fun with through a contest.
You love Five Guys burgers, right?
Yeah, we got on that kick, a few years ago. It was kind of a good luck charm. I'm kind of burnt out actually now a little bit. I'm more of the mom and pop type shop, anything that we can find on the local food scene. Nothing too fancy.
Darren, you started the year in Sanford, Florida.
Sanford, Florida.
You did Sonny's Invitational. You won it. Florida Barbecue Association event. So, different to a degree than the KCBS stuff. You had a great year last year. You had made it very apparent when I had interviewed you at some point early in the year that, if there was going to be no extreme effort to go after Team of the Year, if it fell into your lap, whatever, but, you had definitive cutoff points. So you start back out again this year and you win an FBA event. How do you like different sanctioning bodies? And I mean, I'm sure you love winning in them, but how do you find each intricacy in the different sanctioning bodies?
Well, I love it. It's a challenge. Florida was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun because we were down there, I was down there a day early and, talking to a lot of Florida teams, and they were all telling me how I needed to cook Florida barbecue and how it needed to be sweet and how I needed to do this in the box. And I kind of joked around with them. We were having a few beers on Thursday night, and I kind of joked around. I said, you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm just going to cook good old Smokey D's barbecue, and let's just see what happens. And we just happened to get lucky and win, and it was just a blast. But it was the challenge of something different, for some, the garnish, when you go no garnish, it becomes a little bit of a challenge, not only to make stuff look good, but as you're placing stuff in the box to get it to hold in place so that it looks good by the time it gets to the judges' tent. And we've had a lot of practice with that, cooking in the King of the Smoker being a no garnish contest. So we were no stranger to it. It was just like, what are we running into? And we could have just as well went in there and got 25th place and still had a great time.
Do you not worry when you have guys that I guess are experienced FBA cooks saying, well, you got to sweeten it up, or you got to do this, you got to do that? Do you give even a second thought about it, or do you truly feel that wherever you're going, Smokey D's barbecue can take the day no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, we've been cooking barbecue. We probably travel the country more than anybody, and I'd really like to get up into that Northeast quadrant. I say that every year. We just can't seem to get that schedule. But, whether we're cooking on the West Coast, whether we're cooking in Texas, whether we're in Oklahoma or Kansas or in Florida, it doesn't matter. We just kind of cook the same old thing. I mean, when people think there's regional differences in this sport, I kind of think they're crazy. It's just because judges travel just as much as competitors do. And, I always say, good barbecue is good barbecue no matter where you go.
This past weekend, you do the dual event. It's a KCBS event. It's an IBCA event. You win the IBCA portion, your reserve in the KCBS. What's it like cooking two contests at the same time?
Yeah, that was a challenge. It was fun, but I mean, we had to do 7 tournaments in 3 hours, and space constraints really became an issue. We're trying to, we're cooking, just from a volume standpoint. I had 2 briskets, one for each contest. So I had 2 briskets, I had 4 racks of ribs, I had 4 pork butts, and I also had 4 half chickens that I was trying to juggle in one cooker in a little 30-gallon pan. So it was quite a challenge, and it got really, really busy halfway through because we had to turn in, CBS ribs at 12:30, ECA ribs at 12:45, turned in pork at 1 o'clock. I mean, we were hopping there for a little bit, but just the challenge of it was awesome. I mean, cooking IBCA, I could cook those events. They were very attractive, being able to do stuff like that.
Darren Warth is the pitmaster of Iowa's Smokey D's, and where are you going to be competing at next year?
Well, I'm not sure whether I'm going to. My big trailer is sitting down in Pensacola, Florida. Hopefully, it's still standing as tornadoes are going through there tonight. But I may run down and cook Bainbridge, Georgia. I'm not sure. Otherwise, if I don't, we'll start again up in Pensacola, Florida. Cook that contest, and then we'll cruise over for the week over to Hammond, Louisiana, and then we'll start coming back up north. We're going to spend a lot of time in Wisconsin. I've already got Wisconsin on the docket for the year. Otherwise, we're just going to make up the plan as we go.
Darren, always appreciate the time, my man. Thanks so much for coming on, and we will chat again soon.
Okay, sounds good.
There he is, Darren Warth. I was Smokey D's. I was own Smokey D's. Oh, look at me. Took myself right off the damn thing. That's all right. Yeah, he pretty much told you all about the brisket. Yep, good guy. He knows how to play the game. Could there be a more laid-back guy who wins everything and almost seems like, I don't even taste that shit. I just look at it and it tells me if it's good or not. All right, gang, let me talk to you quickly about the longest-running sponsor of the show, the BBQ Guru. Not familiar with how they work? How about a product that, once you set your pit temperature, keeps it set all the way through the cook? Yeah, it's not fake. This is real. It can happen to you right today. This is the technology. Maybe you're a busy working pro, or you're on the run with kids, you're doing errands, all that other stuff. You don't have the time to sit around and tend the pit temps. The Guru can do it for you, no problem. You have a number of different models to choose from. Bob Trudnak will be on the show in a week or two, I believe. He's going to have some great news. You're going to flip out when I tell you about the great news when he comes on. Do yourself a favor. Here's the deal. Head on over to thebbqguru.com and check out their products. If you have any questions about what to order, call them directly, 800-288-GURU. They will make sure you're outfitted with exactly what you need to get you up and running right out of the box. 800-288-GURU or thebbqguru.com. We're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, welcome back. 216-220-0966. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com, your email address. Thanks again to Darren Warth for doing the singular barbecue roundtable, I guess, as it were. Also, thanks again to Jim Burg for coming on the show. Ice cream. What? Outrageous. But, I mean, it's the case, right? I mean, I love talking with Darren Warth. And if you've never been around him, I got the opportunity to meet him a couple years ago at a competition that David Qualls used to have out in Miami, Oklahoma, called Smoking at the Run. And I met him and his wife, Sherry, wonderful people. But he is so relaxed. And maybe that's like part of it. When you've done it for 13 years and you're successful at it and you're good at it, maybe there isn't any stress anymore. The stress is definitely internalized or coming from within. It's not worrying. I mean, I'm sure he could care less about who is set up against him, thinking that anybody can beat him. I'm sure he probably doesn't even realize that he doesn't think that anybody can beat him. Who can beat him? Nobody can beat him consistently. Who's cooking better than him? For the amount of competitions that he cooks, maybe one, maybe two teams. Here's what I learned tonight in no particular order. Cook your shit tender. It counts. Number 2. Dude, just rub that brisket like 4 minutes before you put it on the pit. No biggie. It's good. You're good. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up. All the way back in the first hour, we talked with Jim Burg, Killer Bees. You're going to want to go get that in case you missed it. In the second hour, Darren Warth broke down brisket like a mother. Thanks to them. SmokeyDsBBQ.com is Darren's website. Don't forget, subscribe to this show's podcast feed. If you subscribe to the newsletter, the feed is in there. If you want it, email me and I will get you the feed. You can subscribe through iTunes, which is how most people do it, or if you have a podcast fetcher, you can enter in the podcast feed, and you will get the show as it's released, this show. And then Thursdays at noon, this coming Thursday at noon, you will be entertained by the first pre-recorded effort in years for this show called the Barbecue Roundtable. No, that's not what it's called at all. The Barbecue Roundup. That's what it's called. It's a newsy program, man. It's newsy, yeah. So subscribe to this show and let me know what you think about the first episode. Give me your thoughts, suggestions, comments, ideas, all that shit. I'm open. I'm good. All right, September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.